Hello, a very good evening to all our friends and welcome to the Hindu News analysis of Shankar IAS Academy for the date 16th March 2021. The list of the relevant news articles taken up for today's discussion from 5 different editions of the Hindu newspaper along with their page numbers are given here for your reference. Also, the handwritten notes in the PDF format and timestampings for all the news articles taken up for today's discussion is given in the description box and also in the comment section for the best interest of the viewers. Let us now start with our first news article. See, this news article is about a solution to mitigate human-elephant conflict. It is being tried as a pilot project in Karnataka, and the news article mentions about Project Rehab, then Khadi and Village Industries Commission, and also about Nagarhole National Park. So we will see about them in this analysis. The relevant syllabus is highlighted here for your reference. Please go through it. See, the news article reports that between 2015 and 2020, nearly 2,500 people have lost their lives in elephant attacks across India. Of these human casualties, 7% have been reported in Karnataka. There were also deaths of elephants due to retaliation by humans as well. It was reported that around 500 elephants have died in retaliation in the last 5 years. So there were a lot of discussions going around this particular subject, that is how to mitigate human-elephant conflict. So in this regard, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission has come up with an initiative which is called as Project Rehab. See, in this project, bee fences are created to mitigate human-elephant conflicts. And here, Rehab is an abbreviation of reducing elephant-human attacks using bees. It is to be noted that Project Rehab is a sub-mission of the National Honey Mission of KVIC. See, the Honey Mission of KVIC is different from the National Beekeeping and Honey Mission, that is NBHM. Know that NBHM is a central sector scheme which is implemented through National Bee Board of the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. But the Honey Mission of KVIC is one another program which is intended to increase the bee population, honey production, and also to increase the beekeepers' income. And this is to be done by setting up apiaries or bee boxes. And as a submission, Project Rehab uses bee boxes as a fence in order to prevent attack of the elephants. Now let us see how the project does this. See, under the project, bee boxes will be installed in the passageways of human-elephant conflict zones. The boxes are connected with a string and they are placed on the ground as well as hung from the trees so that to block the passage of elephants. And when the elephants attempt to pass through, the pull or push contact with the string which is connected to the boxes causes the bees to swarm or drive away the elephant herds. So this will dissuade the elephants from progressing further. Now here, why bees are used in the process to drive out elephants? Know that it has been scientifically recorded that elephants are annoyed and are even frightened by honeybees. They fear that the bee swarms can bite their sensitive inner side of their trunk and also eyes. Also, the collective buzz of the bees is annoying to the elephants and it forces them to return. Now what happens next? See, we know that elephants are intelligent and they carry their memories for a long time. As a result, they avoid returning to the place where they have encountered the honeybees. Now let us see 2 important advantages of Project Rehab. One is that the project dissuades or drives out elephants without causing any harm to them. Also, it is extremely cost effective when compared to other measures like digging trenches or erecting fences. End of the day, it minimizes the loss of lives of both humans as well as elephants. So this is about Project Rehab. Now let us see in brief about Khadi and Village Industries Commission or KVIC. See, KVIC is a statutory body as it was established by the statute, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission Act of 1956. Earlier, there was the All India Khadi and Village Industries Board, and in April 1957, KVIC took over the work of this former board. Now, the functions of the commission, as specified in the Act, is given here for your reference. You may go through it. Now, the news article states that the pilot project was launched at locations on the periphery of Nagarhole National Park. This is because the Nagarhole National Park is known as a conflict zone. See, the Nagarhole National Park is situated between the Mysore Plateau in the Karnataka and Nilgiri Mountains of Tamil Nadu. It is named as Rajiv Gandhi National Park and it is an important tiger reserve in Karnataka and also a major hub of conservation under both Project Tiger and Project Elephant. Remember that this park is the host to the largest herd of Asiatic elephants in the world. So these are some of the informations with reference to this news article. So in this discussion, we saw about Project Rehab and why bees are used to drive out elephants. And then we saw in brief about the Khadi and Village Industries Commission and also Nagarhole National Park. So with this information, let us move on to the next news article. Now let us take up this OPED article which talks about the quad grouping. See, March 12 marked the rolling out of the very first security dialogue under the Quad framework, and we had discussed the major agenda of this meeting on our March 12 Hindu News analysis. Please watch that video for better understanding. So today's discussion will focus on Quad, the security dialogue, and its regional implications. The relevant syllabus is highlighted here for your reference. Please go through it. First, let us freshen up our knowledge about Quad. We had seen that Quad is an informal grouping of 4 countries, which are India, Japan, US, and Australia. So we can say that it is a coalition of maritime democracies. Quad countries converge through a common interest of maintaining a stable balance of power in the region, which is seen in the context of rising security threats, particularly emanating from China. Now, if we see the history of Quad, it goes back to 2007. The Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, put forth this idea of Quad based on 2004 tsunami collaboration between these countries. Again, the idea came to the fore in 2012, but under the name Democratic Security Diamond. However, it should be noted that only in 2017, the first official dialogue took place in Manila, which is the capital of Philippines. Thus, we can say that Quad has evolved from a loose coalition of democracies to a concrete entity that has met 3 times since 2019 at ministerial levels. The last ministerial level talks was held in February 2021. Now, shifting our focus back to March 12 security dialogue, we can infer that there is a transition from a tough line against China factor to a more sophisticated view. So in that context, the following observations are the significant outcomes of the summit. The first is that in this summit, the statement document is neatly worded in order to accommodate the interests of all the 4 countries. The second is that the summit leaders have achieved a well-aligned and juxtaposed view against China. And this is without referring to China directly. For example, phrases like security challenges and the rule-based maritime order in East and South China Sea, etc. were used. So we can say that this kind of only vague references were made of China. And also, this marks a departure from what is called as unidirectional antagonism, that is, a mere aggressive opposition to a good mixture of competition, cooperation, and confrontation. Now third, the security dialogue has made a keen effort to project itself as a benevolent entity among the Asia-Pacific countries. For example, the proposal to supply COVID-19 vaccines is an effort in this direction. So this is a move which can earn the Quad grouping a significant geopolitical capital among the regional nations. Now fourth, the grouping is trying to collaborate beyond the security questions of the region. In that line, the Quad has set up 3 working groups. So let us look into the details of this working group. The first working group is the Quad Vaccine Partnership. See, it will leverage the United States Development Finance Corporation or DFC, then Japan International Cooperation Agency or JICA, and Japan Bank of International Cooperation, that is JBIC. So in this regard, the US will produce 1 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines by 2022. Then India and Japan will collaborate in order to produce vaccines for exports. Also, Australia has pledged 77 million US dollars for the last mile delivery of vaccines. So this is about the first working group. Now the second working group is the Quad Climate Working Group. See, this shows that Quad identifies climate challenge as a priority. Here the group works towards cooperation both within Quad and with other countries in order to strengthen the implementation of the Paris Agreement, including to keep a Paris-aligned temperature limit within the reach. Then they will also work together and with other countries to support, strengthen and enhance climate actions globally. Then it is also meant for committing to advancing low emission technology solutions in order to support emissions reduction. Then there is also cooperation on climate mitigation, adaptation, resilience, technology, capacity building, and climate finance. Now the third working group is the Quad Critical and Emerging Technology Working Group that focuses on telecom technology and biotechnology. So these are the 3 working groups. Now let us see the other outcomes of the summit. Here the Korean question has also found a place within the joint statement with potential prospect of adding South Korea into the Quad framework. Besides this, Myanmar's situation has also found a place in the joint statement and the need to restore democracy has been emphasized. Then there was also a promise to keep the grouping dynamic by at least 1 foreign minister level meeting per year. So these are the outcomes of the meeting. So from this we can see that Quad is maturing from an entity that shared a common security threat to an entity that can address the social and also environmental issues. But for any organization or groupings, there can be some limitations. Now let us see the limitations of Quad. The first limitation is that among the Quad members, only India shares a common land border with China and also an open conflict with China. Here, the difference of threat perception can prove disadvantageous for India. That is, India is more vulnerable to China factor than any other members of the Quad, that is Japan or US or Australia. Now the second limitation is that although security dialogue has taken place, there is no legitimate document that binds the 4 countries of the Quad grouping. That is, the Quad continues to remain as a loose collaboration with no organizational structure. The third limitation is the divergence with respect to geographical areas of maritime priority among the 4 states. That is, the geographical distances of the member states and consequently the varying interests. And this is sometimes viewed as an inherent weakness of the Quad. And finally, this alliance can make China more insecure and aggressive in its stance. Now what can be done? See, the dissolution of the initial conception of Quad in order to pacify China had an opposite effect. So instead of repeating this, the 4 countries should be able to make incremental steps in order to deepen their military cooperation. In that line, improving the interoperability and maritime domain knowledge is important. Besides that, focus should also be given to cooperation and coordination in the provision of public goods, for example, disaster relief, humanitarian assistance, then anti-piracy and also search and rescue operations. Also, the formalization of the institution with focus beyond security reasons is an important step in ensuring its stability. In this regard, Quad should utilize the shared value between its members, which is nothing but democracy. So these values should be used to further its global, social and environmental agenda. So we can conclude by saying that it is advantageous for India that Quad security dialogue has turned out to be a meaningful exercise. And this is when we look at it from a security perspective. And India should utilize this forum effectively to put forward its interests in the global level. So this is all about this OPED article. With this information, let us move on to the next news. And now this news article mentions that the central government aims to expand the air bubble pact with some more countries. So what is this air bubble pact? See, it is also called as transport bubbles or air travel arrangements. Know that air bubble is a temporary agreement between 2 countries which are aimed at restarting the commercial passenger services which were stopped in the wake of pandemic. That is, as you know, regular international flights are or were suspended to and from India as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So these arrangements or agreements are for restarting such suspended passenger services. Further, it is to be noted that the air bubble agreements are reciprocal in nature. That is, airlines from both the countries enjoy the similar benefits under the agreement. And tickets for these flights are sold through the airline's website, travel agents and also through global distribution systems. Know that India entered into air bubble agreements with more than 15 countries. And these include USA, Canada, France, Germany, United Kingdom, Maldives, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Afghanistan and Bahrain, etc. So under the air bubble agreement, the flight services are operated between the destinations of the party countries. For example, air bubble agreement flight service from Trichy or Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu and Bahrain was operated in September 2020. And in addition to this, if you remember, we also have the Vande Bharat mission for a similar purpose. See, Vande Bharat mission was started in May 2020 by the Union government to repatriate Indians who were stranded abroad and also to transport people from other countries who were stranded in India due to the COVID-19 lockdown. So the Vande Bharat mission flights along with the air bubble agreement flights and continue to help to bring back stranded Indians from abroad and unite them with their families. Now today's news is that the government wants to expand this air bubble agreement with more countries, and priority countries would be Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Japan, China and Singapore. So this is all about this news article. With this information, let us move on to the next news. Now let us see this editorial article which is titled Global Leader in the Post-COVID Era. See, it was written by our Union Education Minister, and as the title hints, the news article talks about the contributions of India in the global fight against the pandemic and also the highlights of the emergence of India as a global leader in the post-COVID times. The article also mentions about the role played by the national education policy in this regard. So today we will discuss the important points mentioned by the author. The syllabus relevant for this analysis is highlighted here for your reference. Please go through it. See, every year, the 16th of March, that is today, is observed as the National Vaccination Day by the Government of India. And this is in order to commemorate the importance of vaccination to the people. The undeniable role played by vaccination in India is evident with India being declared polio-free in the year 2014. And with COVID-19 pandemic, the role played by vaccine became even more significant. Here the author opines about how our Prime Minister's firm conviction of Atmanirbhar Bharat for having our own COVID-19 vaccine has helped India in emerging as a global leader in the post-COVID era. Know that Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan or Self-Reliant India campaign is the vision of New India that was envisaged by our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. The aim of the campaign is to make our country and its citizens independent and self-reliant in all senses. As we know, the pandemic required a global solution demanding efforts from countries and firms in every part of the world. So understanding the demand, the developed countries indulged in the efforts to vaccinate their populations, and at the same time having in mind that a universal, equitable and an affordable supply of vaccine is to be ensured for the developing countries also. And the developing countries were following the developed countries for vaccines. Here note that India is one of those countries which succeeded in firmly establishing a place for ourselves as the pharmacy of the world. And in this regard, we took the initiative of making vaccines widely available for other developing countries also. And here it should be noted that we have also further pressed on the need to deal with the medical products as global public goods. So this shows that in addition to becoming Atmanirbhar or self-reliant, India has also contributed its share in the global efforts in order to mitigate the challenges by supplying medicines as well as generic drugs to other countries as well. And as per the report, till March 2021, we have supplied vaccines to over 70 countries while at the same time accommodating our domestic demand also. The author then shifts its discussion towards the important role played by Indian educational sector in contributing for the emergence of India as a global leader in the post-COVID times. Now, when you look closely into the contribution of India in the global vaccination drive, you can find the important role played by those educational institutions who volunteered themselves in making a change by transforming challenges into opportunities. Now, an example for this would be the various innovations made by IITs like the low-cost portable ventilators, affordable artificial intelligence-powered COVID-19 test kits, then drones for sanitization, as well as cheap and effective PPE kits and masks. And in addition to using these innovations to provide healthcare facilities to our people, India also exported these items into different countries. So according to the minister, this act once again insists on the notion of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. See, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a Sanskrit phrase meaning that the whole world is one single family. Now, in the post-COVID era, after the successful establishment of the COVID-19 vaccination, there emerges an additional importance for India to strengthen its research and innovation. We know that the National Education Policy 2020 has already made significant contributions to the field of research and development with an aim to improve it. So let us see briefly about the National Education Policy. See, the policy proposes for the establishment of startup incubation centers, technology development centers, and interdisciplinary research for higher education institutions with an aim to develop research and innovation. Apart from this, they were also advised to develop mechanisms and organize competitions in order to facilitate innovation among student communities. And to succeed in achieving a highest global standard in education, the policy recommends for setting up of multidisciplinary education and research universities which are in par with IITs and IIMs. And in addition to this, the National Research Foundation or NRF will be set up. See, it is an umbrella body that funds research across a range of disciplines from science and technology to humanities. And it will be established under the Principal Scientific Advisor with an aim to transform India's research culture. See, this Principal Scientific Advisor's office aims to provide pragmatic and objective advice to the Prime Minister and also to the Cabinet on matters related to science, technology and innovation with a focus on application of science and technology in critical infrastructure and also economic and social sectors. And this will be done in partnership with the government departments, institutions and industries. So in this discussion, we saw the Education Minister's opinion on how India has emerged as a global leader in the post-COVID times. Then we also saw about the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, then the National Education Policy of 2020, and also about the institutions like the National Research Foundation. So with this information, let us move on to the next news article. And now let us take up this editorial. As the name suggests, the author talks about reinvention of radical politics by restructuring the left ideology. See here, radical means supporting great social and political change. See, in politics, it refers to the one who desires extreme change of part or all of the social order. So the author desires to attain radical politics by way of leftism. Thus, in today's discussion, let us see about leftism, Marxism, then what are the issues facing it and what needs to be done for its restructuring. The relevant syllabus is highlighted here for your reference. Please go through it. Basically, in the politics of most countries, you will always come across references to parties and groups with a left ideology or right ideology or even centrist ideology, meaning they are neither rightist nor leftist. So what do this left and right mean here? See, these terms characterize the position of the concerned groups or parties regarding social change and the role of the state in effecting economic redistribution. Left often refers to those who are in favor of the poor, downtrodden sections and those who support government policies for the benefit of these sections. But generally, the right refers to those who believe that free competition and market economy alone can ensure progress in the world. And they believe that the government should not unnecessarily intervene in the economy. That means left in the politics is the portion of the political spectrum that is associated in general with egalitarianism and the popular control or state control of the major institutions of political and economic life. Here, leftists tend to be hostile or opposed to the interests of traditional elites, including the wealthy and also the members of the aristocracy. On the other hand, they favor the interests of the proletariat, that is the working class. They tend to regard social welfare as the most important goal of the government. Now you should be confused that this is similar to socialism. Yes, because socialism is the standard leftist ideology in most of the countries of the world, whereas communism is a more radical leftist ideology. Here both socialism and communism are essentially economic philosophies that advocate public ownership rather than private ownership, especially in terms of means of production, distribution and in the means of exchange of goods, that is, making money in a society. Now both aim to fix the problem which they see as created by a free market capitalist system. And this includes the exploitation of workers and a widening gap between rich and poor. Simply put, socialism is a system based on social ownership and planned coordination of the economy. It emerged in response to the extreme economic and social changes that were caused by the Industrial Revolution, and particularly, it was a response to the struggle of workers. Because at that period, many workers grew increasingly poor, but the factory owners and other industrialists accrued massive amount of wealth. On the other hand, communism is sometimes referred to as a revolutionary socialism. Note that it also originated as a reaction to the Industrial Revolution. Now, under communism, all property is owned by the community, and each person receives a portion based on what he or she needs. Now, according to the experts, a key difference in socialism and communism is the means of achieving them. In communism, a violent revolution in which the workers rise up against the middle and upper classes is seen as an inevitable part of achieving a pure communist state. But we should know that socialism is a less rigid and more flexible ideology. Here also, socialists seek change and reform, but they insist on making these changes through democratic processes within the existing social and political structure, and not by overthrowing that structure. Now, some of the important socialists include Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, who were contemporaries. Now here our focus is on Karl Marx. See, he was a social thinker who advocated an end to oppression and exploitation. According to the Marx theory, economic processes created contradictions which in turn generated class conflict. So such class conflicts also depends on political and social conditions. Now if favorable conditions are present, then such class conflicts culminate into revolutions. Here note that communism came to be defined by Marx theories, especially by taking these theories to their extreme end. In fact, Marxists often refer to socialism as the first necessary phase on the way from capitalism to communism. It is because Marx argued that industrial society was actually capitalist. He believed that for workers or proletariat to free themselves from capitalist exploitation, they had to construct a radically socialist society where all the property were socially controlled. So such a kind of society can be called as a communist society. So in this theory, emphasis is on the predominance of central role of proletariat, where a proletariat or working class revolution only will assist in attaining a classless society. Now the social, political and economic theory which originated from Karl Marx plus to some extent of Friedrich Engels' theory is what is popularly known as Marxism. And those who follow these theories or ideologies are known as Marxists. So here we believe that you would have had a basic understanding of left and Marxism. Now the author of this editorial is suggesting the restructuring of Marxism or the leftist ideology. First, let us see why. Because radical politics is facing many new challenges, especially the re-emergence of aggressive and authoritarian state. There is also a systemic assault on the marginalized sections of the society by the racist and religious politics. Further, there is hegemony or dominance of the neoliberal corporate world along with the right-wing regimes. See here, neoliberal means favoring the policies that promote free market capitalism, then deregulation and the reduction in government spending. And along with all these, we know that we are in a technologically dominant world. So to create a balance between technological dominance and also the liberal politics in this rapidly developing world, the author calls for restructuring of leftism. Secondly, in the existing Marxism, there is need for more decentralized, pluralistic and inclusive political system. So for this, it should also consider the role of political movements which represents the wider processes of the society. And this includes the role of media and the role of feminists, then marginalized groups, homosexuals, ethnic groups, teachers, etc. And including these sections of the population will lead to developing a radical movement for social transformation. Thirdly, the existing Marxism or the orthodox Marxism targets only the capitalism. But there are other social or societal evils that affect people. And these include racism, privatization, workplace surveillance, then bureaucratization, etc. So this also needs to change. And examples of all these mentioned issues could be found in countries like India, USA, Chile, etc. And these countries are facing serious issues like communalism, caste oppression, environmental degradation, gender discrimination, poverty, mass unemployment, homelessness, then violence, famine, economic oppression, etc. etc. And all these mandates restructuring or revising of leftist or Marxist ideology. So what needs to be done here according to the author? Firstly, it needs to include and aggressively pursue the agents of change such as secularism, the green movement and the ethnic and national movements. Here green movement refers to a holistic and ecological view of the world. It makes people conscious of stopping further degradation and deterioration of environment. Now secondly, it should aim for a more democratically functional system and should not give way to politics of division. In short, there should be a new progressive movement which will lead to an open and participatory form of socialism. And this should ultimately lead to politics that prioritize employment, then increasing the funding for public health care, then ending police brutality, etc. So in this discussion, the different ideologies which are present in politics and also the author's suggestions to restructure the leftist ideology. So with this information, let us move on to the next news article. And now this news article reports the demise of the Kathakali maestro and a Padma Shri awardee, Guru Chemanjeri Kunhiraman Nair. He passed away at the age of 104 and he was a seasoned Kathakali actor who played a huge role in promotion of this particular art form. So in this context, let us have a brief understanding about Kathakali. Know that Kathakali is a classical dance of Kerala. The word Kathakali has its origin from Katha, which means story or tale, and Kali, which means performance or art. We should know that Kathakali as an art form has evolved from many social and also religious theatrical forms. Here Chakyar Kuthu, Kudiyattam, Krishnanatam and Ramanatam are few of the ancient arts which had a direct influence on Kathakali. Ancient martial arts and athletic traditions also have influenced this particular art form. Ancient martial arts like Kalaripayattu and the athletic traditions have also influenced Kathakali. See, Kathakali is a blend of dance, music and acting, and it dramatizes the stories. The stories are mostly adapted from Indian epics. For example, the mythological themes like Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavata Purana etc. play an important role in Kathakali. Now talking about the costumes, Kathakali makes use of stunning costumes like elaborate masks, huge skirts and big head dresses, different mental stages and characters in the story. For example, green is used for nobility, black is used for wickedness, yellow for women, and red patches are used for royalty and evil. Here the performers enact the roles of the kings, gods and demons from the different stories. And the vocalists narrate the legend and percussionists play the musical instruments. Kathakali was traditionally a male-dominated art form, but contemporary Kathakali includes women also. Now talking about the gestures, remember Kathakali makes use of the entire body. The technical details cover every part of the body from facial muscles to fingers, eyes, hands and wrists. Here the facial muscles play an important role. The movement of eyebrows, the eyeballs, and the lower eyelids are extensively used in Kathakali. And the weight of the body is on the outer edges of the feet, which are slightly bent and curved. Here Kalasham is an important part of Kathakali and are pure dance sequences. Here the actor is at great liberty to express himself and display his skills. Here the leaps, quick turns, jumps and the rhythmic coordination makes Kalasham very much enjoyable. Now talking about the musical instruments, Chanda, Maddalam, Chengila, Ilathalam, Idakka and Shankh are some of the musical instruments used in Kathakali. So this is in brief about Kathakali. Previous year question which was asked in Prelims 2014. With reference to the famous Satriya dance, consider the following statements. Satriya is a combination of music, dance and drama. Yes, this statement is correct. It is a centuries old living tradition of Vaishnavites of Assam. Yes, this statement is also correct. Then it is based on classical ragas and talas of devotional songs composed by Tulasidas, Kabir and Mirabai. Yes, this statement is also correct. So the correct answer for this question is option D, 1, 2 and 3. We have taken this question along with the analysis of this news article in order to make you aware of the questions which are asked in prelims, mainly regarding art forms of India. So you can expect some questions regarding art forms in your prelims examination. So with this, we have analyzed almost all the relevant news articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Now let us move on to the practice questions discussion section based on today's news analysis. Now the first question is with reference to Nagarhole National Park. Consider the following statements. The first statement reads, Nagarhole National Park is situated between the Mysore Plateau in Karnataka and the Nilgiri Mountains of Tamil Nadu. Yes, this statement is correct. Now the second statement reads, the forest safari in this park offers a very high probability of spotting Bengal tigers and Asiatic elephants in their natural habitat. Yes, this statement is also correct. We have seen that the park is a major hub of conservation under Project Tiger and Project Elephant. And the sanctuary is host to the largest herd of Asiatic elephants in the world. Now the third statement reads, forests of Nagarhole are primarily deciduous. Yes, this statement is also correct. In this regard, know that Nagarhole National Park also has a rich collection of teak trees and rosewood. So here we have to identify the correct statement or statements. Since all the three statements are correct, the correct answer for this question is option D, 1, 2 and 3. In this regard, we also have a previous year question which was asked in Prelims 2020, and this question was with reference to Desert National Park. The question reads, with reference to India's Desert National Park, which of the following statements are correct? Here three statements are given. The first statement reads, it is spread over 2 districts. Yes, this statement is correct. And the second statement reads, there is no human habitation inside the park. No, this statement is incorrect. And the third statement reads, it is one of the natural habitats of the great Indian bustard. Yes, this statement is also correct. Here statement 1 and 3 are correct and statement 2 is wrong. And we have to identify the correct statement or statements. So the correct answer for this question is option C, 1 and 3 only. Now see this question which is with reference to Karl Marx. Consider the following statements. Karl Marx believed that capitalism was the latest phase of human advancement and it would give way to socialism. See, this statement is correct. See, even though capitalism was an exploitative and oppressive system, Marx believed that capitalism was nevertheless a necessary and a progressive stage of human history because it created the preconditions for an egalitarian future that will be free from both exploitation and poverty. So capitalist society would be transformed by its victims, that is the working class, who would unite to collectively bring about a revolution to overthrow it and to establish a free and equal socialist society. So the first statement is correct. Now the second statement reads, Karl Marx was a proponent of class struggle and believed that it was the major driving force of change in society. Yes, this statement is also correct. See, both these statements are taken from NCERT textbooks. And in this question, we have to identify the correct statement or statements. Since both the statements are correct, the correct answer for this question is option C, both 1 and 2. Now see this question which is with reference to air bubble agreement. The air bubble agreement sometimes seen in news is related to, here the correct answer is option C, agreement for restarting commercial passenger services. And now we have these 3 mains questions. Please write your answers and post it in the comment section. Now we have come to the end of analysis of all the news articles taken up for today's discussion and also the discussion of practice questions. If you like this video, please press the like button, comment, share and do subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel for more videos and updates related to civil service preparation. Thank you.